All right, everyone. I think we're going to get started. So welcome and thank you for joining us today. My name is Jenny Lowenstein. I am a regional planner with the Genesee-Finger Lakes Regional Planning Council. And I am joined by my colleague Rachel Scudder, who will be helping monitor the chat and help answer any questions. I believe we're also joined by a couple of the other staff members here at GFL. So today I will be discussing the Climate Pollution Reduction Grant Program and the approach that the Genesee-Finger Lakes Regional Planning Council is taking for the region. Our agenda today is as follows. We will provide an overview of the Climate Pollution Reduction Grant Program. We will review the greenhouse gas inventory and also review the Priority Climate Action Plan draft measures. We will also be discussing next steps as well as the comprehensive climate action plan process. There will be plenty of time for questions, so please put those in the chat, and we will discuss those intermittently throughout the presentation. We are also recording this presentation, and we will make the slides and the presentation available to all of you in a couple days. So the Climate Pollution Reduction Grant Program provides $5 billion in grant funding to states, local governments, tribes, and territories to develop and implement greenhouse gas reduction plans. The Environmental Protection Agency was authorized to provide these funds through the Inflation Reduction Act. Throughout this presentation, I will refer to the Climate Pollution Reduction Grant Program as the CPRG moving forward. There are a number of acronyms throughout this presentation as part of this program, so I will make sure to tell you what I'm saying before I start using the acronym, because there are quite a few. So the CPRG process starts with a planning process. All states have the opportunity to receive $3 million to start planning for greenhouse gas reduction. 67 of the most populous metropolitan statistical areas, or MSAs, were awarded $1 million. The planning process is divided into two separate phases. The first is the planning grant phase, which includes the Priority Climate Action Plan, or the PCAP, which is due March 1st, 2024. This is primarily what we will be discussing today. The second part of the first phase is the Comprehensive Climate Action Plan, or the CCAP, which is due in 2025. The second phase is the implementation grants. This is $4.3 billion available to implement the PCAP in competitive grant funding. And I will be discussing both the PCAP and the implementation grants in more detail through this presentation. So New York State is one of 45 states that chose to participate in the planning grant process. And within New York, 4 metropolitan statistical areas also chose to participate. That includes the New York, New Jersey, and Pennsylvania MSA. The Albany, Rochester, and Buffalo MSAs also are participating. So the state, as well as these 4 MSAs, are all writing priority climate action plans and comprehensive climate action plans. At GFL, we have been coordinating with the state as well as the New York MSAs in order to share information and data and walk through this process together. And we've also been working with the EPA as they've set up technical assistance forums for everyone across the country to get together to discuss lessons learned, discuss challenges and opportunities they're seeing throughout this process. And it's been a really good learning experience for all of us to be able to hear from everyone from Washington to Massachusetts to Rhode Island about what everyone is doing. So it's been a really great process. So the Rochester MSA is developing a priority climate action plan. The Rochester MSA includes Livingston, Monroe, Ontario, Orleans, and Wayne counties. As part of this planning process, we will also include Genesee, Wyoming, and Yates, which means the 8 of our 9 counties are fully participating in this process, which means that all of these counties have been part of steering committee meetings. We've had one-on-one meeting sessions with them. However, our PCAP will include data and will have priority measures and strategies that include all 9 of our counties and helping them be able to participate moving forward. So if you are a member of our 9th county and you would like to participate, please reach out and we'd be happy to connect with you and work through the CCAP process moving forward. So the PCAP is setting the stage for municipalities to compete nationwide for competitive implementation grant funding. The PCAP will focus on near-term, high-priority implementation-ready measures that were determined from all of our outreach efforts. And any future applications for implementation will need to fall under our regional PCAP or be part of the state PCAP. As part of the Genesee-Finger Lakes Regional PCAP, we'll be focusing on 3 priority sectors: transportation, residential and commercial buildings, and municipal operations. The transportation sector includes all emissions from the movement of people and goods by cars, trucks, trains, ships, airplanes, and other vehicles. The residential and commercial buildings sector includes emissions in all homes and commercial buildings. And municipal operations sector includes emissions from municipally run facilities and operations. The other priority climate action plans that are being written by the other MSAs and by the state may include different sectors. And as we move through our comprehensive climate action plan phasing, we will include all sectors as a requirement. So if your favorite sector is not included, do not fear. As we get to the comprehensive climate action plan, it will be included in that process. So the implementation grants, those are due on April 1st. The general competition is open to states, air pollution control agencies, municipalities, tribes, or a group of 1 or more of these entities are able to apply. If you work for a nonprofit or a consulting firm and want to participate in an application, you can, but you cannot be a lead applicant. A lead applicant has to be some sort of government or municipal type agency. The general competition funds are available across 5 funding tiers as shown in this table, ranging from $2 million in Tier E up to $500 million in Tier A. Applications will be evaluated by the EPA on how well they fit into their corresponding PCAP, so either the Genesee-Finger Lakes Regional PCAP or the state PCAP. They will evaluate the projects based on greenhouse gas reductions and also the benefit to disadvantaged communities. This link down here is live and will take you right to the implementation grant notice of funding opportunity, so you can read more about that. Also, if you have any implementation projects that you're considering applying for, please reach out to myself or Rachel within the next week so we can make sure that your project idea can fit into our PCAP and you can be eligible for funding. So this has been our timeline to date. We were awarded the CPRG contract in September 2023. And from September to December, we held many one-on-one meetings with our municipalities and local organizations. And in order to discuss their priorities, their goals, and any climate action planning that may have been done previously or is ongoing. And we've also held monthly steering committee meetings with our stakeholders as well. Our goal really was to draw from the incredible amount of work that is already being done in the region, working with our partners on the county level, but also working with organizations like the Climate Solutions Accelerator to understand the type of work that is already being done in the region. And the first couple months of 2024, we have been identifying priority measures and greenhouse gas reductions associated with those measures based off of the conversations that we've had. And then in a few short weeks, we will be submitting our priority climate action plan to the EPA. And then it will be made available to all of you and to the public so it can be open for your review as you start to look at possible applications for the implementation funding. And on April 1st is when, again, those applications are due for implementation funding. And throughout the month of March, we will be supporting any applications that might be coming out of our region. And to date, it does sound like there may be several applications coming out of our region, which is really exciting because we do want our region to receive more funding as we continue to do such great work and really build off of the relationships and the work and building into the green economy. So with that, I'm going to pause for any questions that anyone may have about the overview of the CPRG program. Rachel, are you seeing anything in the chat?
Nothing right now.
Okay. As I said, there's several pauses throughout this presentation to if you have any questions, please put them in the chat and we can answer them then, or we can wait till the end as well. So next we can move into our regional greenhouse gas inventory. So as part of this process, as part of the PCAP process, we decided to utilize the 2010 greenhouse gas inventory developed by NYSERDA for the 9-county region. This is based on the 2015 Community and Regional Greenhouse Gas Guidance. And the reason why we chose to utilize the 2010 greenhouse gas inventory is because it means we're starting from a consistent published product. It allows us to quickly focus on priority measures and estimate benefits for the PCAP measures, especially due to the time frame that we were given by the EPA. Utilizing the 2010 data is consistent with what other New York State MSAs are doing. We will all be developing updated greenhouse gas inventories come the CCAP process. And with that CCAP process, we will be reviewing updated GHG protocols, updated data, and also coordinating with states and local, the state and local agencies and organizations like the Climate Solutions Accelerator to identify and update that greenhouse gas inventory. And we will also be continuing to work with Climate Action Associates as well as we produce that updated greenhouse gas inventory, which will include all of the sectors. So this is our 2010 regional greenhouse gas emissions in a brief snapshot. In 2010, the region emitted approximately 16.1 million metric tons of carbon dioxide equivalent and 13 metric tons of carbon dioxide equivalent per person, which is a little lower than other regions in the state, but it's pretty much on par. The residential and commercial building sectors make up for about 41% of all regional emissions. Municipal operations are calculated as part of the commercial building sector, and they make up about 2% of emissions within that sector. And transportation makes up for about 37% of all emissions across the region. And since those two percentages are the highest, we decided it makes the most sense to utilize those as our priority sectors through the PCAP process. In the region, Monroe County makes up for almost 56% of all greenhouse gas emissions. However, the per person emissions is relatively low, which is at 12 metric tons of carbon dioxide equivalent per person. Whereas Wyoming County has only 6% of all emissions, but has the highest per person emissions at 23 metric tons. So it's just really interesting to note. I believe that our region is very well positioned to continue to reduce our greenhouse gas emissions. Again, there's so much work that is already happening here, so much work on the regional level, but also the state level. And since our grid is already very green and very clean, we can continue to do this work. And we are very excited to produce those updated greenhouse gas emission numbers for all of you and be able to provide that update. So in order to reduce the region's greenhouse gas emissions, we look to our priority sectors, which again were transportation, buildings, and municipal operations in order to make those changes. Our priority strategies and measures are focused around reducing energy use, electrification, alternative fuels, and installing local renewables, as well as looking at reducing our vehicle miles traveled across the region. Again, I will stop here for any questions before we move into our draft strategies and measures. Are there any questions in the chat, Rachel?
Nope.
Okay. All right, I will keep moving right along then. All right, so our strategies and measures are based off of the one-on-one meetings we've had with our stakeholders, as well as pulling from climate action and comprehensive planning efforts that have already happened in this region. Our goal was to make sure to capture the priorities of all of our municipal partners and our stakeholders, and again, build off of the work that has already been done in our region. And as we work through this PCAP and CCAP processes and determine strategies and measures, we are going to continue to keep in mind our strategic vision, which is that the Finger Lakes region will work collaboratively to leverage its unique character and assets to improve the health and well-being of the region through climate action. This will be achieved through collaboration, education, and engagement, resulting in an equitable, vibrant, resilient, and healthy region for current and future generations. So in keeping that vision in mind, the next several slides will review our draft strategies and measures. So the building sector has 5 different strategies related to commercial and residential buildings, as well as municipal buildings. The 5 strategies include advancing the decarbonization of buildings and infrastructure, adopting zero-emission codes and standards, increasing energy efficiencies in building and infrastructure, promoting programs, providing tools, and encouraging strategies that reduce energy efficiency barriers in residential buildings, and developing a resilient energy portfolio through a diversified sources and local generation. Now, each strategy has several measures, which include actions such as assessing the regional potential for net zero conversion in all buildings, adopting advanced building codes for more efficient and resilient new buildings, expanding solar development, and gap funding for supporting weatherization-ready housing. And as we talk about these strategies and measures, each one of these measures a benefit will be associated to it. So we are working on quantifying what it all means and what the greenhouse gas reductions will come from all of these strategies and measures, and that will all be made available for you in the PCAP. The transportation sector also has 5 strategies, which are related to public, private, and municipal fleets. These strategies include transitioning to zero-emission vehicles and equipment for municipal and private fleets, enhancing public transportation services, expanding the availability of low-carbon and active transportation alternatives, promoting smart growth and mobility-oriented development to reduce vehicle miles traveled, and enhancing public safety. Again, each strategy has several measures, which include actions such as requiring municipalities and businesses to complete fleet inventories to support their transition to green and zero-emission fuels, expanding the bus and bike networks across the region, and implementing complete streets policies. So as you may have noticed, municipal operations kind of fell into both transportation and the building sector. So we decided to create this economy-wide bucket of strategies and measures. And so this captures the economy-wide changes that will support all of the sectors, not just our priority ones, to help implement change across the board. These 6 strategies include building citizen support for climate action, building municipal capacity for climate action, creating healthy and sustainable communities, supporting clean energy policy and growth, expanding and funding educational programs that support the growth of green economy, and incentivizing land use and zoning patterns to create more efficient and people-friendly communities. Again, each of those strategies has several measures, which includes actions such as increasing participation in the clean energy communities and climate smart communities programs, supporting increased participation in Color Your Community Green groups, encouraging infill development, and providing workforce development services. And with that, I would like to pause for any questions that may be in the chat or anyone may have before moving to next steps.
There's nothing in the chat.
Okay. All right, so the next steps for the Genesee-Finger Lakes Regional Planning Council are finalizing the PCAP, the greenhouse gas inventory, and also analyzing the benefits from each of the strategies and measures that we just shared with you. We will also be supporting any implementation grant funding applications that might be going out in our region and continuing to speak with partners. So if you are planning on applying for any implementation funding, please reach out to us as soon as possible so we can make sure that you can be eligible for that funding and make sure that your project idea is in our priority climate action plan. And then we will be moving on to the CCAP process in March. This will include more community and municipal engagement and input opportunities. And when I say more, I mean a lot more. We are really, really excited to have all of you participate in this process. We're looking forward to hearing from everyone about their priorities when it comes to climate action and resilience and adaptation across the region. Our website, we are currently building a website for engagement that will allow for more opportunity for engagement. So our website will be live for this entire CCAP process. We'll be utilizing it as a tool and information sharing page. And that's where we can post resources and information sessions like this and any other outreach methods that we may have. And the CCAP will also be looking at all greenhouse gas sources and sinks, and we will be able to produce a more robust and up-to-date greenhouse gas inventory and have measures and strategies for each of the sectors. And again, we will be looking towards all of you to receive any feedback on what those measures and strategies may look like and how we include all of our sectors within the CCAP process. And again, as a reminder, our PCAP is due in a couple short weeks on March 1st. Implementation grant funding is due on April 1st. And then the CCAP process, we have about a year and a half to go through that planning process. And we're, again, really excited about that. So with that, this is all of our contact information. So if you have anything you may need, any questions, comments, or feedback about the PCAP process and the process we went through, if you have any questions about applying for implementation grant funding, or if you are just interested in the CCAP process, please reach out to myself or Rachel. You can also reach out to our executive director as well. So with that, I would like to open the floor to any comments or questions people may have. You can pop them in the chat, or you can raise your hand and we can put you off mute if you'd prefer to just to speak. Rachel, are you seeing anything in the chat?
No, there's nothing in the chat.
Okay.
We got a quiet.
Yes, it seems we have a quiet group. If no one has any questions now, that is perfectly fine. The session has been recorded. We will share that with everyone shortly. And please reach out if you have any questions at all. And please feel free to share this presentation with anyone as well.
And yeah, again, there will be plenty of opportunities during the CCAP process to participate. So
Yes.
thanks for coming, everybody.
Rachel, it looks like there's a couple things in the chat. Is that
just thank yous for our presentation.
okay? Well, thank you everyone for jumping in, and we will keep you up to date on what the CCAP process looks like and how to get all of you engaged in that process. So thank you so much. And please reach out with any questions.